It's crazy here in New York. I mean, in a deserted streets kind of way. What's London like?
It's thankfully finally getting deserted. I feel like the messaging here has been quite confusing and quite slow.
Mm-hmm.
And so people have been maybe not taking it as seriously as they should have, despite the warnings from Italy, doctors and people in Italy just saying, please look at what's happening here. Please take this seriously. I think it's, unless you have the government saying, in no uncertain terms, you have to stay at home. It is this serious. It's quite hard. It seems to have been quite hard for quite a lot of people here to take it seriously. But as this week's gone by, the messaging has become stronger. On Friday, pubs, bars, restaurants are closed at midnight, thankfully. And I think parks are going to be closed here soon. And it feels like we're moving towards a lockdown. But I went for a bike ride yesterday and cycled through central London, and it was like 28 days later, it was a complete ghost town. And just very surreal. It's just surreal for everybody at the moment. It's surreal. It's disturbing. It's scary. Mm-hmm. And just adding to that, just going through parts of central London that are usually bustling with people and filled with cars, and there was like the odd rubbish truck and the odd police van, and that was it, and no people. Which is kind of disturbing, but also really reassuring at the same time, because that's exactly what obviously we all need to be doing. What part of New York must be the same? It must be like the opening scene of Vanilla Sky, I imagine.
It pretty much. It's like my wife and I went out for a walk just to clear our heads, and at one point she was like, wait, don't cross the street, it's a red light. And I said, there isn't a car on the road.
I know.
There literally wasn't a car on the road. And the main streets are, I was walking down Fifth Avenue in front of the Metropolitan Museum, and I took a picture that I put on Instagram. There isn't a soul in it. And there are people in the parks riding bikes and taking walks. And that's sort of where people seem to go to clear their head, which is what I do almost every day. I have to do that just to
me too.
Breathe air and so forth. But it's pretty surreal. And I think, I don't know how you're feeling. There's a sort of almost a subconscious anxiety that creeps in, that you try to watch old movies to make disappear, but it surfaces periodically.
Yeah, it's a constant undertone to everything, isn't it? It's impossible to not be reading about what's happening all over the world. Even if I know some people are sort of trying to, for their sanity and for their mental health, are kind of trying to shut off to it for a while, which I think is healthy. But I personally can't not engage. So it's hard to not read about everything that's happening, be disturbed by it. And there's also this kind of imagined future. It feels like, particularly in the UK and the US, we're in this sort of calm before the storm moment. Where our sort of hospitals are already pretty overwhelmed, and we know it's going to get so much worse. This sort of trajectory. It's this. I don't know if you've ever had someone that or personally been ill, but it's that thing of when somebody's, for example, being diagnosed and they're diagnosed with something, but you're not quite sure how bad it is. It feels like that on a mass scale. And it's just, it's tough for people who've got no work, who've lost their jobs, who are suddenly having to spend time at home with their kids or by themselves, in these situations that no one was expecting, and it's come so suddenly. And there's this kind of this perpetual feeling of dread that surfaces in me. I guess it's important to do things like this to try it, to do the Together at Home shows. I think are really helpful and in distracting people, hopefully, for a minute, and also reminding them of the importance of the work that the WHO are doing. But it's a really weird time. Like you said, it's just strange. All of our routines have been thrown up in the air. All of our norms have been completely, the rug has been pulled from underneath pretty much everybody's life. This is like a once in a, not just a once in a lifetime thing. This is, this has never happened. Anything like this that's directly affected literally everybody on the globe. It's insane.
Were you on tour? Were you on tour?
We weren't actually. We were, not that what we were up to matters at all, but we had just finished touring and we're planning to take our first ever break for a year. So you know, we'd done our sort of final show in London with an orchestra, and had sort of we just started bedding down in the studio. We were sort of making headway into our new record and really enjoying that. But you know, as soon as it became obvious that everybody needed to just separate and isolate, you know, we've been, for the last sort of week and a half or so, been doing our best to do that.
Are you able to write with each other effectively across the internet, if you will?
Yeah, you know, we're in that respect, we sort of sat down a few weeks ago on the first day back in the studio and went through all the songs that I've been writing and we've been working on over the last year. And there's a lot of material, and we'd actually sort of made a fair amount of progress in the studio. So we can keep kind of chipping away at that stuff, and it's been really interesting. I do a fair amount of writing for other people and sessions with other people, and seeing how people have so rapidly adapted in every industry to this new way of having to work and be with people over FaceTime, in the same way that I, you know, can only speak to my family, my mum and dad, over FaceTime these days. You know, as we're all having to adapt, and I've done a couple of songwriting sessions over FaceTime, and it takes a bit of getting used to, but I think I think for the good of everybody, I think there are no exceptions apart from the key people, like, you know, certain service industries, doctors and nurses, and delivery people in shops. That, like, everybody else has to just, you know, literally for the good. It's so rare that you can say it, but for the good of humankind, everybody has to take this so seriously. And so, you know, I think everyone's doing an amazing job at adapting their lifestyles and adapting their ways of working, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what the next few months are like for the whole world. It's just I don't know, there are no words. It's very surreal.
You started a film club, Distraction Tactics.
Yeah, I thought it would be nice to do like a kind of fictional tour and bring everybody with us. So we're starting in the UK. We're starting with a Shaun of the Dead, which is a zombie movie, and a comedy, and we wanted to keep it light. And I think we'll go.
It's very appropriate. Zombie comedy.
Maybe slightly too on the nose, but we're, you know, I'm excited to go, you know, to go around the UK, to go to France. There's obviously so many amazing films in the US. I think the idea behind it was to try and think of something we could do that will bring people together online, give people something to do, and hopefully chat to some filmmakers and start a conversation about these films, and introduce people to, you know, interesting different world cinema, you know, that exists and they may not have heard of, and mainly just to find ways to stay in touch with people and do something fun. You know, I think I like the idea of, you know, doing a book club and having an album of the week and all that kind of stuff. Like, everybody, I think these fan bases that some bands have and these communities that have existed online, they're kind of more vital now than ever. And I think it's been amazing to see. I think the internet in the last few years has felt like quite a corrosive and dark place in a lot of respects, and it's been quite divisive. And I guess when it was started years ago, that wasn't the point. It was meant to be a point of connection and education. And I think it's been really amazing to see people doing, you know, free gym classes and yoga classes and music lessons and gigs and comedy, stand up, and, you know, cooking classes. I think this has really brought the best out in so many people, and I hope it continues to do so, because we're all going to go a bit loopy in our houses with our loved ones or friends or whatever, and I think things like this, it's a really nice idea, and it will be, you know, someone posted something earlier which had all of the people doing live streams, you know, gig live streams in one evening, and it was like a festival lineup. In that respect, it's, you know, it's amazing, and it's exciting. And I think we have to look for distraction, and we have to look for the positives in this situation, which is just totally unprecedented, and, you know, such a kind of mind-boggling thing to try and deal with.
For your little gig this afternoon or this evening, your time, you rewrote some lyrics to Jolene.
Yeah, no, we did. It started out as just the chorus, and I got sucked in. I thought it could be like like a catchy public service announcement. Obviously, that song is amazing. It's one of the best songs.
When you started playing it, I was like, all right, where is he going with this?
Yeah, I just want to make people laugh. I think there's an absurdity to everything we do, and yeah, I don't know. I think it's been really nice seeing all these artists doing versions of their songs while washing their hands. You know, I saw, yeah, it's been brilliant. Brandon Flowers from The Killers did it,
right,
and countless other people. But it's, I don't know. I think it's anything that can feel kind of connecting and humanizing in this time, I think, is so important.
I'm hoping that lots of artists, with everybody cooped up at home, at the end of this, there'll be this enormous creative explosion. That's what I'm hoping.
It feels inevitable. I think there's, you know, every artist whose tour's been cancelled, you know, every writer is going to be at home, hopefully just creating, and it's going to be this when we get out the other side, there'll be this bottleneck of all these films and, you know, that have been waiting to come out, and all this amazing music that will come out of this period, because this is like a fork in the road, like life-changing moment. You know, it's so rare that we get to live through these moments and know how historic they are, you know, for better or for worse. And I think, you know, a lot of darkness and sadness is going to come out of this time. I think it's going to get scarier over the next few weeks and coming months. But, you know, if positives can come out of it, like shifting changes in attitude and you know, and a sense of togetherness, then, oh man, you know, you've got to sort of try and think of that in a way.
What are you doing to stay sane through all of this?
Good question. I guess I've never been more in touch with everybody, and you know, we because of our job we're quite busy, but you know, so that's one thing that I always regret, is not being as in touch with people as I can, but having this extra bit of time, you know, working on music. But most of my friends in London are kind of like doctors and social workers and teachers, and so it's been really, really humbling and interesting hearing their experience. And yeah, I guess just trying to look out for everybody. I've been, you know, signed up to volunteer for a local doctor's surgery, and you know, checking on our neighbours who are much older, and, you know, just doing, I guess, like everybody at the moment, just doing whatever I can to hopefully be useful locally, and then also just to keep myself sane. I think a little bit of exercise every day if you can, you know, it clears the head. Like you said, going for a walk, going for a bike ride, it's pretty surreal. It's kind of like if you go for a walk, and obviously we should all stay inside as much as possible, but if you wander into town and you see the streets that you're used to seeing flooded with people, completely empty, it's you know, for a second you can switch off and imagine you're in a zombie movie. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess hopefully we'll catch up on a lot of reading, a lot of the books that I buy and never get to read. Yeah,
well, actually, I'm talking to you on a stack of books I meant to read that I piled up to put the phone up a little higher.
they found their purpose.
Yes, exactly. And now I've just got to read them. Dan, it's been great.
What are you doing to?
The main thing, as I said, is the walk with me is critical. I have to go outside and remind myself the world is out there, even if there's nobody out there in it.
I know, and I guess with this sort of enforced slowing down, you find yourself appreciating things so much more. You know, just a little walk outside. I guess it makes you look around more and appreciate what's going on. Anyway, look, stay safe, man, and look after yourself.
Too.
Wash your hands.
It's great talking to you. It's great seeing you, and thanks for the concert this afternoon. I really enjoyed it.
No worries. Take care. Look after yourself. All the best.
All right, Dan. Be well.